know that listening to yourself, trusting your inner knowing, trusting your needs and your desires is the key to unlocking the most connected relationships of your life. This is for you if you're wondering, is this relationship really right for me? Hi, I'm Mory Fontanez, intuitive life and leadership guide, and my purpose is to remind you that within you is the answer to any question that you seek to know more about, and that it is time for self-trust. Today, as we think about trusting ourselves, we're going to talk about how we can do that while still being in relationship with others. Or how do we use self-trust to decide if the relationships we're in are really right for us? First of all, let's just understand something. There are so many reasons why we abandon trusting ourselves to be in relationships. I'm going to give you 5 of the most common beliefs I see in my work that get in the way of people really being able to trust their inner wisdom, trust their wants, trust their needs while trying to be in relationship with others. And that can be, by the way, you guys, we can talk about romantic relationships today. You can apply this to your relationships with your family members, to your friends, even to your coworkers. So let's just expand the definition of relationship in this video and really think about any relationships in your life that you're wondering about today. So here are the 5 reasons why I notice people abandon trusting themselves to be in relationships or when they're in relationships. One of the biggest and the first is that we are taught to value other people's opinions, sometimes even more than our own. What does X, Y, or Z person think? I am going to go get advice before I make a decision. Other experts, gurus, teachers know better than I do about my own life. If any of that sounds familiar, it's because you've been conditioned to believe that other people's opinions hold more value than yours do. The second reason that we have a hard time trusting ourselves when we're in relationships is a very common coping strategy called people pleasing. I don't know if you relate, but this has been one of my survival strategies since I was little, which is if I can make you happy, then I will get love from you. You will think that I matter. I will have value to you. So what we do if we have developed people pleasing as a coping mechanism is that we will put other people's needs and wants ahead of our own. Instead of trusting what is coming from in here, whatever that internal nudge is, hey, maybe you should say no when this person asks you if you want to do something with them. Or, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with the way that this relationship is going. You might be trained to silence that inner voice because you believe that the other person's comfort, the other person being happy with you matters more than you getting your need met. The third reason we abandon trusting our own inner nudges is because boundaries are hard. And those inner nudges, they're nudging you towards boundaries. They're probably nudging you towards say no when you mean no, or tell someone if the way they're treating you isn't good enough for you, or have the hard conversation when you need to speak up. You know, that inner nudge always wants the best for you. And in pushing you towards the very best for you, it's going to push you towards boundaries. And boundaries are hard. See reason number 2, people pleasers. It's really hard to think that what we need, or if we say no, or if we put up a boundary, it's going to push someone away. That is a story, an illusion that we have believed is reality. And that fear makes us not trust the inner nudges that want to push us toward those boundaries. The fourth thing is the belief they won't be able to handle all of me, or also commonly shows up as if I'm fully myself, I can't be loved. This is a story that we really get into at a very young age when we've attempted to, be who we are or say what we think. And we're told maybe that we're too much, or we're told to quiet down, or for whatever reason, we are led to believe that showing up in our fullness makes it hard for other people to be around us or be able to give us love or attention. So when that belief exists in us, it grows with us. So check in with yourself if there's this belief, they won't be able to handle all of me. Why does this relate to not trusting yourself? Because if you believe that all of you is too much, that it's going to push people away, then this inner voice, which is your truest voice, which is the one that's going to make you be more you, can seem dangerous to you. Here's the last reason that we abandon self-trust, and it's another belief. And this is the belief that we are very much conditioned to that says, I am more valuable if I am in a romantic relationship. So this one does have to do with romantic relationships. We in our society and many societies and many cultures, I'm Persian, Iranians are absolutely included in this category, culturally believe that people are more valuable when they're in relationship to one another, especially romantic relationships. And so we strive to get that partner and keep that partner and marry that partner and show that we can make it work because we've been conditioned to believe that makes us more valuable. If you're striving for making it work with someone above all else to show you're valuable, think about how much of yourself and your inner nudges you might be ignoring to hold on so tightly to this thing you think you need to have to matter in this world, in this society, in your family, wherever it is. So I just gave you 5 reasons why it's hard to stay in self-trust, which means that it's going to be a transition for you to move out of not trusting yourself when you're in a relationship, because there's so many reasons not to do it. But hopefully, when you heard me just list them, there was a part of your knowing, there was a part of yourself that was piping up and saying, these reasons aren't good enough anymore. These reasons don't sound right. If there's any internal nudge that's telling you the reasons I just listed just aren't cutting it anymore, aren't good enough anymore, then the rest of this video is absolutely for you. Because here's the thing, trusting yourself is actually the pathway to the most connected, most fulfilling relationships you can have in your life. And believe me, I am not just saying this to you. I have lived this story. I've tried it the first way, where I did it for all those people-pleasing society reasons, where I didn't speak up and I didn't use my voice to say what I felt or what I knew. That didn't work out in my best interest. I didn't feel fulfilled. I wasn't able to be my full self. But when I finally realized that those internal nudges were nudging me towards the partner who was going to allow me to be my greatest self, I was able to be in relationships, not just romantic, but even friendships that let me walk around in my fullest, most expansive self. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that freedom? So know that listening to yourself, trusting your inner knowing, trusting your needs and your desires is the key to unlocking the most connected relationships of your life. I'm going to give you a little bit of evidence. Number 1, trusting your inner knowing helps you get into the right relationships and out of the wrong ones. When you trust your body and your feelings, then you are able to more quickly weed out who is going to allow you to live alongside them in the greatest version of yourself, and who is going to need you to contract, to be small, to be tight, to be less than yourself, to be with them. Second reason why it's going to be transformative in having the most connected relationships is because when you listen to your inner knowing, you are able to set the tone, set the dynamic of the relationship towards your highest good and the highest good of the other person. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When you trust that what you know and what you want and need is worthwhile, you show up in a different frequency. It is a higher frequency of being We beings are meant to remember who we are, which is that we are inherently valuable. We are inherently connected to the most divine, loving source. We are part of that energy. So when you show up and you listen and you trust yourself, the energy that you're emitting is one of expanse, of value, a higher frequency, which means that you set that energy, that tone in your relationships. And when you set that tone, you are allowing better outcomes for you and the other person because you're not expecting any less of them than they're capable of or any less of you. And here's the third reason it's transformative. When you trust yourself, you're not in need of anyone else's validation, which means you show up in relationships fully present and without strings attached. This is how we can end our addiction to relationships. If anyone is in that boat, it's because you need the validation you get from being wanted, being desired, being chased. But that's because you don't fully trust yourself. When you change your relationship with self-trust and start to just listen in and know that those nudges, that knowing, those desires, those are real and they are right. You don't need anyone else to tell you that they're real or they're right or that you're valuable, which changes the quality of your relationships. They are no longer about need. They are about true, genuine connection. So I've told you all of the reasons why we don't trust ourselves in relationships and 3 reasons why trusting ourselves can be transformative. So let's get to the real meat of this video, which is how can you begin to trust yourself while still being in relationship with others? I'm going to give you 3 tools. The first is what I call the cost benefit calculator. This is very simple. The way this works, bring a relationship to mind right now that you're questioning as you listen to this video. And I want you, first of all, to just allow the part of you that wants to be in this relationship, let's honor that part, allow that part to tell you all the benefits. I'm sure you're going to hear things like, I don't have to be alone. I feel like this person wants to be around me. It makes me feel wanted. Those are just some examples. Pause this video if you have to. Write down the benefits. Now I want you to flip over to the other side of the coin. What is it costing you to be in this relationship? Now, cost is something that's really interesting because at first glance, it might not look like it's anything. But I want you to ask yourself how you feel in the relationship, how much you speak up, how many of your needs are met, how good do you feel around this person? That's how you begin to get to the cost. But I also want you to trust your inner knowing and your consciousness that when you ask it, what is this relationship costing me? It will answer. So if you need to, pause this video and ask yourself, or do it later. But that is the cost benefit calculator. See where the scale lands. The second tool I use is what I call the sacrifice quotient. At what level am I willing to sacrifice myself to be in relationship with this person? And by the way, sometimes some sacrifice, some give and take is necessary in relationships, and it can feel okay. In fact, sometimes it can feel really good. I know in my relationship with my kids, sometimes it feels good to me to put a need aside and give them what they need, but only when I do it sometimes. The sacrifice quotient has you checking in on how often you're sacrificing your needs. If you check in with yourself and ask, how often do I sacrifice what I need to say or what I want for the other person? And if it is more than 30% of the time, not 50, 30% of the time, I want you to start to get curious about whether this relationship needs some kind of change so that you can trust yourself more in it. Here's your third tool, and this one I made an acronym out of. Listen, this kind of change requires small, incremental baby steps. That's the only way we make change happen. So these need to be bite size. If we work with that word bite, you can stretch that out to mean begin in tiny experiments. Bite. Little tiny ways that you can listen in. What do I want right now? What do I want to say right now? What is my intuition nudging me towards? Tiny actions, little things. I don't want to go to that restaurant. I want to go to this one. I don't want to go out as a big group. I'd like some one-on-one time with you. Little tiny actions. And then watch for evidence. Your brain needs evidence to know that whatever change you are making is safe and is going to work for you. So take bite-size actions. Begin in tiny experiments. And I love this word experiment because what it says to your whole system, even the part that's trying to protect you, is we're just going to try it. And if it doesn't work, we can go back to doing it in the more protected, safe way. All right. So I want to end this video by giving you a few things to think about and a few questions you can ask yourself. If you've watched this video and you're wondering, is the relationship that I have in mind really what's best for me right now? Here are 5 questions you can ask yourself. First, like I said before, how do I feel around this person? Do I feel energized? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel happiness? Do I feel small? Do I feel drained? Do I feel nervous? Just check in with how you feel around the person most often. Second question, how much time do I spend planning in my head how I'm going to show up around this person? How much of your brain space is taken up by thinking about what to do, what to say, how to be, how to not be, to make the best out of an interaction or time with the person you're thinking about? How much of your time are you spending thinking about planning for that? When you are in self-trust and showing up as your full self, you shouldn't need to take up all that precious brain space to plan how to show up. You should just be able to show up. The third question, how many things do I wish I could say about what I need or what I think that I'm keeping inside? How often? What is that sacrifice quotient? How often am I swallowing the thing I need to say, the truth, the feeling, the nudge for the other person? Check in with yourself. The fourth one, how much do I value their comfort over my own? This is for you people pleasers out there. If you value someone else's comfort over your own needs, then that's a signal that people pleasing might be stopping you from trusting your internal nudges and your wants in this relationship. And then lastly, how much of myself am I hiding in this relationship? That might be a harder question to answer, and it's okay just to let your consciousness hold on to that question and show you. Just say to yourself, higher self, show me all the places as I go about my day-to-day where I'm hiding my truest self in this relationship. So if you're wondering if a relationship that's on your mind might be not in your highest good, these are some questions you can work with. And remember the tools I gave you so you can begin to shift towards trusting yourself while being in relationship. Because guess what? You can have both things at once. You don't have to sacrifice trusting this inner guide, this part of you that knows what is best for you, and all of this desire that you have for your life. None of that has to be sacrificed to be in a relationship. That's an illusion. You can have it all. Remember to subscribe for more videos on how you can bring self-trust back into your life. And I'll see you again with another video next week.